The Wild Wild West.
All right, we're here. Michael P. Murphy. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. Great to be here.
Dude, it was, again, I'll be honest. I have a booking service. They just go, and I'm pretty bad in terms of like researching anything. They just go like, hey, here's the book. I go, sounds great. Sounds awesome. The book is called Our World in 10 Buildings.
Yeah, that's right. 10 buildings.
So and this guy, I did a little research.
Okay.
So you have like an architectural origin story.
I do. It's a little bit what this book is about as well.
It's pretty charged. You were saying your father was sick.
Yeah.
You went to the hospital and you're like, dude, why does this place look so fucking horrible?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that about it? Like,
those are the two parts. Yeah, I got two kind of awakenings I had.
Yeah.
One,
that's a bad way to frame it. I shouldn't say that. You were just like, this doesn't look like a place to get healthy in. It looks
it's true. I went, like I think a lot of people went to the hospital, as everyone will go, for those like moments of great joy when your kids are born and terror when your family's sick. And
yeah,
I'm sitting around. It was actually like the holidays, it was Christmas, and the whole family had to be there because he was getting surgery. And so the place emptied out. And there's like no one in there except us. And he's like, this is the worst place I could imagine spending the holidays. And I'm looking around. I was a young architecture student. I'm looking around. I'm like, where is the architect? Where are the design elements in this place? This place is terrible.
Yeah.
And so I think it kind of cracked my head open and said, maybe one day I could design a hospital or something like that.
So you were already in architecture. You were studying architecture before that.
I had been in architecture school for one semester.
Oh, so you were pretty new.
I was pretty new. I didn't know a damn thing.
Did you talk to anyone in there about architecture during the thing, or were you just kind of just chilling?
There was this moment where they told him he had to walk around. He was like, oh, get your steps in. And so they're walking around the hallway with no windows, rooms on either side, the nursing station in the middle. And he was, very very diligent doing what the doctors told him. So he was walking around and I'm just like, this is the most abysmal experience,
Yeah.
And yet it's this great, famous cancer institution in New York City.
Yeah. That's
supposed to be one of the greatest ones and is for research, but the experience was pretty bleak,
Yeah. Hospitals are pretty brutal in there. And it's like, I get it. You got to build all the cool life-saving machines. You can't really be thinking about nice windows and natural light. So your thing is like, you can have both. Basically.
Yeah, I think the question emerged like, why is it? Why is it that we can't have both? It's interesting when you think about hospitality spaces are designed completely around your experience.
Yeah.
What the comfort of the chair is, what the smell of the room is, what the light setting is. It's all around making people feel like vibe and comfort and interest. And
vibe of the hospital sucks.
Yes.
It's not a good vibe.
And hospitals, which they share the same root word,
True,
are completely different, completely on the other spectrum. It's all about the kind of institution and it's sanitary and cleanable spaces. And you can understand there's a lot of liability around screwing it up.
Yeah. Do you think that's from I would imagine hospitals were invented for soldiers initially. So I think it's probably just like mercenary mindset where it's like they always were like, give them the worst possible shit. We'll put their legs back on and send them back out. I just think everyone was like, yeah, that's just what they look like. And no one ever even thought about it.
It's a very good point. The history of hospitals, like originally hospitals actually were converted religious spaces. So like before, let's say the 18th century, they would just put the sick in the church, in the kind of large rooms and put beds in there. And you could hear, the only healing power is the power of God, the word of God. So the priest stands at the front, delivers the sermon, and that's your pathway to heaven.
Really? And that was the first hospital.
So those are the first medical spaces are like really converted, religious spaces, basically.
Okay.
They're taking in the sick. And then around, let's say the turn of the 18th century, kind of modern hospital starts to emerge as a place where the state is putting the ill and the sick.
Yeah.
In the 19th century, 1850s is really when you see what we know today as the modern hospital realm.
Oh, they're pretty new.
Kind of new, and you're right that like it's this confluence of military and kind of state investment. So I did this research eventually to look into why was it so bad? How can a place provide like the best care and actually potentially extend my father's life, actually provide really good care, good research, good surgery, and have such a poor experience in terms of like the comfort level there. Why are the two so disconnected? So I looked into this history. There's an interesting historical relationship where Florence Nightingale, who from the 1850s kind of emerged as like the first medical hospital. I don't want to say medical hospital designer, but she built this thing. She wrote this book called Notes on Hospitals and Notes on Nursing. And
was she a nurse?
She was a nurse. She sort of set up the first kind of nursing. She's this incredible innovator. And
I always thought she was like a character from like a Dickens novel. That's a real person.
I mean, it's a very real person.
That's like the ultimate nurse name. Is Florence Nightingale.
Yeah.
My name is Nurse Florence Nightingale.
She's amazing. She went to then it was the Crimean War, and all these soldiers were dying because they were in these what's called bell tents, and they were dying of disease. And she said, she learned that through the design of this new kind of military hospital that was brought in, that patients were actually living longer.
Yeah.
They were being pulled off the ground, that they weren't getting sick, that there was airflow in the facility, and she realized that the hospital had this big impact on saving their life. And so she developed rules for how to design hospitals and use those rules to kind of change hospital design around the world.
Dang. So did you ever hear about the guy who discovered germs? Similar thing. The guy who was like, you should wash your hands after you package away a dead body and you have to deliver a child, you should wash your hands. That guy was told, he was like, other doctors were like, shut the fuck up, dude. There's nothing there's not like invisible bugs on our hands. And that guy, I forget his name, but he actually, he was the one who like pretty much founded germ theory, and he died in like an insane asylum because all the other doctors were like, shut up.
Oh, I didn't know.
We don't hear about that. They're like, we're doctors, we're gentlemen, we're clean. We can touch anything. It's not going to make us dirty.
Yeah, there was this study where, similar to that, where it was doctors' ties that were getting germs on them and infecting other patients as they were walking through different wards. And so
what?
So this whole idea of sanitary clothing and other things, but those same ideas are really, really fascinating. It was the same idea around
Semmelweis. Sorry, that's the guy.
Oh yeah,
that guy. Good guy.
Good guy.
Horrible,
good dude.
Horrible fate for him. He just tried to be like, guys, we should wash our hands after touching dead bodies. And we shouldn't deliver babies right after. And they're like, shut up.
Yeah. All that stuff was changing how we think about not just what medicine is, but how we live in the world, how the cities change.
Yeah. Well, it is. It is tricky because you're in the hospital and it's like, yo, let's make this place look awesome. And the doctors are like, they've been up for 35 hours straight, and they're like, shut up. They're pretty grumpy, honestly. Doctors are pretty grumpy. You've worked with a lot of them, I guess.
Yeah,
design stuff like hospitals.
I ended up working with a bunch of amazing doctors. Yeah,
they eat like crap too. They have terrible diets, for real.
That's funny you say that. That is some truth to
it's
that.
100% true. Doctors have the worst diets out of anybody. Well, they're not as bad as construction workers, but they fall for health food fads a lot. We'll drink like 10 Coke Zeros and be like, I'm completely healthy.
Got to stay up. It's those shifts. It's those long shifts.
It's kind of fucked. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
So,
I met this doctor right at that same time, and he was thinking about, his name's Paul Farmer. He was this incredible doctor, and he was trying to build hospitals around the world for some of the poorest people, and basically saying, this is terrible. We deserve better medical care, but also better spaces.
Yeah.
And he invited me to work with him, and actually ended up designing a hospital with him, and that's how I got started my first project.
Where was this at?
The hospital's in Rwanda.
Dang.
In East Africa, yeah.
Building that resume. You can't
you gotta start. Yeah, they're like, we need an architect who works in Rwanda. Yeah.
Well, so I'll get back to that because that is kind of fascinating. How did you get into Harvard architectural schools? You were an English literature major.
Yeah, I was.
How do you do that? You join like some intramural sports, or like how did you polish your resume to get up into Harvard?
I definitely was not destined to be an architect. You know what I mean? I thought I wanted to be a journalist, maybe a future podcast.
Hey.
But
this path is you got to study hard.
I was trying to write a book. Actually, this book I often say is the thing I've been trying to do for 30 years. So I'm glad it's out. But
that's cool.
I studied literature, and I went and worked in publishing, like for a book agent actually after school, which I did not love. And then I went to try to be a journalist. And so I was working abroad. Someone told me to do that, you got to go get get your articles, be a stringer or something, and go to some foreign place. So I went to South Africa, where I had studied in school, and went back there. I knew some people there, and I was trying to figure it out. And while I was there, not being very successful, I would say, I called my father and my mother on my father's birthday.
How old were you?
I was 20. I went there when I was 24.
So you're a 24-year-old in South Africa trying to be a journalist.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a crazy plan.
Stupid. Yeah, it's like terrible. No.
Like, why isn't this working? I'm down here in South Africa. I'm on the beat right now.
Yeah, right. I know. Shouldn't something great happen to me?
Yeah. That is pretty sick, though. So you were down. Sorry, you were down there, and what happened?
I clearly met with some great advisors who told me, first, study English literature, one of the least employable professions. Actually, it's funny, just as a segue, but when I did eventually go to architecture school in 2006, in 2008, the financial crisis happens, and
I was a realtor.
Oh, you're a realtor?
I was a 19-year-old realtor in Philadelphia. So yeah, I've suffered similar setbacks.
Well, there's this article in the New York Times that comes out that says, architects have finally replaced English literature graduates as the least employable profession.
And then you switched to that?
Well, I was in architecture. So
you just switched.
Yeah,
oh, because it was 2008.
Switched. Yeah, 2008, because every architect was losing
we
their
share
job.
a similar arc.
So failing up, as they say.
So you switch. So how did you switch? I still don't understand. You're an English literature major, and you were just like, you know what? Oh, because you were down there in South Africa.
I was down there trying to write, and then I called my dad, and my dad didn't. My mom answered the phone, and she said, listen, your dad's in the hospital.
Oh,
he's
shit.
sick. They found cancer in his stomach. He was feeling uncomfortable. They opened him up and they closed him up. And they said, she said, get home. He has 3 weeks to live.
Oh, God.
And so we had that terrible call. And the next day I jumped on a plane. I came back home. It was winter. I'm from Poughkeepsie, New York.
Chilly,
little, upstate north of New York City. And I came home, and what do you do in that situation? I had this whole plan, bad plan, as you articulated, that wasn't working so well. So I kind of abandoned that, and I said, well, I'm just going to sit here and figure out what to do with the family. And backstory is my dad had always worked on our family home. Every weekend, he was like tinkering, he was painting, he was like stripping paint and repainting this old historic home that they had bought for kind of a cheap deal, and tried to fix it themselves.
Usually great for a marriage.
Yeah.
Project.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Nothing makes a woman happier.
Why is dad on the ladder for 7 hours on a Saturday? We always heard that question, with his like headphones, you got a little transistor radio playing the, Yankees game or whatever.
That's actually kind of nice.
So, but he was always trying to finish it, never, kind of a job that never ends. And I said, well, what if, I asked him, I said, I'm going to keep myself busy. What if I try to finish what you've been doing? He said it's a good idea. So, I started digging into the house. It was winter, so I started working inside. There was this old attic that had never been restored. I started working up there. So 3 weeks passed, he's still alive. 6 weeks, he's still alive. He's responding to the drugs. He's still going to work. A couple months passed, and he's like, I'm going to join you on this. So he comes home from work every day.
That's nice.
We're working on it together.
Yeah.
It's like this really restorative experience.
Mm-hmm.
A year and a half passed, he's still alive, and we finished restoring the house.
That's awesome.
It was amazing, and I went outside with him at this one moment. He's always, at the end of the day, he'd always pour a drink. He always had like a CC and Coke. I don't know who drinks Canadian Club and Coke for your listeners. He was some old rye. That was old school drink. And sipping the drink, we're standing outside, summertime, and he goes, working on the house with you would save my life. It healed me, he said.
That's really nice.
And so that was a powerful experience. I said, like, is that true? Yeah. Could it have happened? But in that moment, I was like, okay, I think there's something bigger here. I should be an architect. I should go study this.
So
and understand why. That was the big moment for me.
So you gave up farting around with the literature
until now.
Picked up some fucking tools like a man. You found your calling.
I was grinding it out on the floor. Yeah.
What happened with the cancer?
Yeah, so he, he went through remission. He had hair on his head. He was feeling good. We finished the house. But stage 4 cancer is a bitch. It came back into my first semester. I told the story. We were in the hospital together. So I went to architecture school.
When you're
then
okay.
I'm back in the hospital just with a little knowledge I went to the Harvard Graduate School of Design, and I get, overwhelmed with all the famous architects. This is how you be a famous architect. These are all the great people you should follow, and all this star-studded, attention. And go to this hospital. No one's talking about hospitals in the school. They're talking about museums. They're talking about these things.
Sure.
And I'm like, where are these guys in the hospital?
Yeah.
Because my father's now suffering again. All these people the nurses they're working in these terrible conditions. And like, where is that brilliance that we see in all these things I just studied for the first semester, and why aren't they here? So it was a kind of like a real kind of whiplash experience to go from having this powerful experience with my father where we kind of restored this thing together, and he became restored and extended his life. And then to go to the place where he was facing imminent death again and see the lack of those thoughts in that experience. I think it really shook me a little bit. I talk about it in the book at the end, but 6 months later, he did eventually die. But it was, not to kill the ending of the book, but he was very intentional about that choice. And he had these thoughts, and he said, I'm going to choose where to go.
Yeah.
So he picked, this guy never left Poughkeepsie, New York, basically. He went abroad once to Barbados, this country where his friend had a house, invited him. He got a passport once for one trip.
I mean, kind of the best place to go, if I'm being honest.
Barbados is nice. But Caribbean is nice, but he hadn't traveled at all, really. Yeah. And he went down there, and he had this great experience there. And he said, I don't want to die in that house. He didn't tell me all this. I found this out later. So he went to his friend's house in Barbados. He brought his 4 best friend couple friends, and he designed that end of life experience to be very intentional, And I chose his last room, as I say in the book, that end of life, being able to design that last experience. Yeah. Where he was looking at the horizon, where he was in this beautiful environment, where he was calm and comforted. His friends were around him, and he went out.
Yeah, it's just pretty.
Went
ideal.
out like a king.
Yeah, pretty ideal, honestly.
And so I think all those things in my first year of architecture school really, it just shook me. To say okay, we're doing this. Something's wrong in the way we're studying and working.
That makes sense. I was trying to figure out how, because it is kind of it was kind of a bit of an oxymoron to be we're bringing architecture to hospitals. You never hear about it. It's we're going to, there's some rich guy with a ton of money. We're going to paint frescoes on a ceiling and give them bigger windows. You know what I mean? You rarely hear about it.
Paint this on the wall.
My beautiful artwork. You really never hear about it. Now, that actually does make sense of how you kind of connected that to be let's make this, your dad had a nice experience. How do you make a hospital where, most people are just going to sit in a hospital? Yeah. How do you make that at least somewhat give a sliver of that experience to,
and I think it asks this question in myself, which is, why do we suffer through these anesthetic experiences? Why do we allow ourselves to be in conditions which are so poorly designed and have no say in what they are? I mean, we live our lives, 90% of our lives are inside of buildings.
Yeah, people are going to say, because I don't have any money, that's why. So my house sucks.
Yeah, but in a way, in this book, I didn't want to say, okay, only great architecture, there's famous houses we see in the architectural record. I actually wanted to say, there's ways in which, like my dad did in his last room, that we, in each of our apartments or houses, everyone and listening, you all actually are designers of your home. You're changing things, you're buying furniture, you're changing the layout of things, you're putting in mementos of your family, talismanic things that are from your history or memory, and you're making them your own, and there's a real beauty to that, actually. In the spaces that we're given, we adapt them and design them and accommodate them to what makes us feel at ease and comfortable.
Yeah. No, that is pretty cool. So then so is that how you kind of got into, I guess, your focus in architecture, where you're all right, let's work on making places? I remember the first time I was in a children's hospital. Children's hospitals kind of do this to some extent.
That's a good point, yeah.
They were I walked in, I remember it was if you have kids, you've ever been to a children's hospital, it's a really gut-wrenching experience, but then you're seeing kids who are really, really sick, and you're all right, let me stop being a baby, whatever. But I remember for real, almost crying, being this is so nice that they've put all of this thought into making these places. The Philadelphia's Children's Hospital, CHOP, is really, really nice. The way they've set it up, and you could tell they really designed it in a way to make, kids feel more comfortable and not like they're in such a serious, scary place.
Yeah. No, it's a really good point in a children's hospital, because no one's going to a children's hospital for great things.
No,
it's
it's
like
always
bleak.
Our second kid, when she was just a little baby, had they thought she had meningitis. She had such a super high fever that it wasn't. One of them's like bacterial. I think it goes like to the brain. Yeah. But we just have to be sure. They had to give her like a spinal tap, and she was a tiny little thing. And I'm like a wreck. But I remember just really, especially in moments like that, you're like, it's really nice we can all come together, and actually collectively design a place for everybody that, because it's just like a brutal,
It's a brutal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, at the bare minimum, I've been in these children's hospitals, and they're like, they're putting like Snoopy characters on the wall or something. Or they have some play area. Or they're at least trying to think about what the kids' experience is going to be, They
had Gatorade in the waiting room, and I was like, guys, come here, it's lemon lime. It's really good. I was like, this is so nice to have this.
Gatorade. Free Gatorade.
It's cold Gatorade. It was awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a good point. It's how do you get into the mindset of those who are experiencing that?
Yeah.
Is that question. And in hospitals, there's a lot of times where we've lost that. We're like, this thing has to be a high performance machine, which is, we're grateful that it's a high performance machine and it's doing incredible, life-changing work. So I don't want to discount that.
Yeah.
But it's also a place where people work every day.
Yeah.
Nurses are working there and they're grinding it out and they're doing hard hours, and doctors are working and they're trying to like muscle through the hard work of this. And is that the kind of workplace that you'd want to be in? It's not Facebook's offices, it's not like, there's not like, free lunch everywhere. They're not thinking about that total experience of what it is to take care of the workers and labor there, as well as the people that are in there all the time.
Yeah, there's no artistry basically in the whole setup.
So some of that can change, but I think it is about understanding the confluence and trying to say, hospitals are the places where we face great joy and great fear.
Yeah.
And we got to take care of the people that are in that environment.
So how have you, so going back to the Rwanda thing, you're down there, that was like your first project?
I mean, it's a crazy story because, I'm in this moment of like existential crisis where I'm like, what am I studying this thing for?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be one of these architects. And my dad's dying. I'm going home every weekend, driving back from Boston to Poughkeepsie, trying to be with him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever been with someone at the end of their life. I mean, he was just muscling through like every sports program he could watch. Like he was watching golf, he's watching football, he's just like the whole day he's just watching TV.
I was dispatched. One of my dad's buddies had pancreatic cancer, and he was really just like wasting away. And so my dad would like send us over there, like, because we would make him like weed coconut oil, like edible stuff. And he'd be like, go over, hang out, man. Go like hang out, spend some time with the guy. And I remember he would just sit in his underwear and just watch Westerns. Oof. So I would just chill with him for like a couple hours every now and again.
Just sit there.
Just watch Westerns with him. But he was a pretty funny guy.
Man, I mean, I remember I would wait for the commercial break. And I'd try to get something potent in there. Dad, stay alive. I love you. Yeah, I love you, Dad. Okay, commercial's over. It's pretty bleak.
See the robots on like Fox Football Sunday. Yeah, totally. Like, all right, let's be quiet.
Yeah, so I had a different experience my first year, and then I met this doctor. This Dr. Paul Farmer, and he was like, "Look, we're building hospitals in Haiti and in Rwanda, and we're working with all these communities." And
who funds that? That's the question. How do you get the money to like kind of do stuff like that?
He was a very interesting guy. His organization, Partners in Health, is an incredible entity. And he was grinding it out, raising money from philanthropists. He had a lot of money there was a lot of money funding the programs from PEPFAR, actually, which was the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. Good.
There you go.
Pretty good, huh?
That's actually impressive.
Actually, George Bush put that together. It's one of his crowning achievements. They funded all this money into AIDS treatment, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, but not just solely there. And that had a lot of money pumped into programs that were radically reducing infection rates and also helped some fund infrastructure. So he was raising money in different ways. Anyway, long story short, he was partnered with the government of Rwanda, and they were building after they had a genocide 10 years earlier. They were investing in architecture and infrastructure while the rest of the world was paralyzed after the crisis.
Oh, yeah.
And they were building hospitals, and he raised a little money to build a new hospital. They asked him to build a new hospital. He's like, "Look, we got to do a new hospital. Would you ever come and do this with us?"
What year were you in?
This is 2007. I went to Rwanda to work with him. And
what year were you in terms of studies? Like, what was your?
so I had one awesome year under my belt.
You're a freshman. That's pretty cool, though. That's awesome. You got to
Like no
put the shoulder bag on and
no
head down
experience. Yeah, no firm experience, and but you know they had done it before. You know
Sure.
they had done stuff before. I was like, look, I have no experience. He goes, actually, we want that because you know if you've done it 100 times, now you're bringing all that baggage. We've done it before. We've done it in our way, and we need you to come in and assist us. So it wasn't like
Yeah.
I'm coming in as the architect. It was I'm going to come and work with y'all
That's cool. Yeah.
to like see if we can improve basically, or just add to what you're already doing. And so I moved, you know, I left school after my second year and moved to Rwanda to be with his team and try to work on this new hospital called the Bitaro Hospital.
Yeah.
And that's where we tested all these ideas, where I learned about the history of, you know, Florence Nightingale. It's where I asked questions like, why are hospitals making people sicker instead of healthier? So I got really into airflow.
Yeah,
How
I saw that from your TED Talk. That was kind of cool.
How can buildings breathe better?
Basically, how to get the air. I never even thought about that because I just assumed, like in my house, like during wintertime, if I don't open a window, I'm like, this is just like old air.
Yeah, that's right.
It is. It's just the same
No,
old
it's true.
air
I mean,
recycling.
we learned this in during COVID. Actually.
Yeah, true.
You know, it was about airflow. You know,
Yeah.
we're not getting enough air management. You know, once we sealed all of our, this is the other lesson I learned. Once in 1950s, where basically everything became air conditioned, and there's lots of good benefits
Sure.
to air conditioning. Certainly here in
Yeah.
Austin, where it's 100 degrees, we need some
Oh
AC.
yeah, I love AC.
You know, but it also means that the air inside often is not recycled enough to clean it. You know?
Yeah, I never even thought. So it's so in the hospital, you would think like a central aired house would have like a duct that pulls air in from the outside just to
Yeah.
give you some fresh air. every
That's
now
right.
and again.
Yeah,
But
they
it
have
doesn't,
big,
right?
No,
That
they
does-
do. I mean, they have big mechanical systems in hospitals. And it's for particularly sick patients.
Mm-hmm.
They go in what's called a negative pressure room, where they're pulling air out constantly. You know,
Yeah.
so those folks in a modern hospital who have tuberculosis or COVID or a disease which is
Yeah.
infecting the air, they would be put into, let's say, a negative pressure room. But in a place like Rwanda, well, they didn't have negative pressure rooms.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the hallways. Patients were coming in very sick and infecting other patients, and it's the medical space that was contaminating those patients.
Oh yeah.
And so we had to think really kind of back to the origins of architecture and say, okay, if we don't have the money for big air conditioning units or big mechanical systems, can we design the building so you get enough natural ventilation that reduces the overall infection rates radically?
And that there was like a metric I remember you were saying, like you can measure how many times the air is completely recycled in a building,
Yeah,
or
that's-
basically like fresh air coming in, old air out.
Yeah, they call it air changes per hour.
Yeah.
And, you know, typically a normal room might get like 2 to 3 air changes per hour. But in like a negative pressure room, you're getting a few more. And during COVID, you wanted to get like 8 air changes per hour.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so you're kind of like, it's the same thing with TB. You know, you want to get a lot more. And so we said, okay, I went back to Nightingale's strategies, and she had ideas about window placement and size. She had ideas about how big the floor plate or the kind of plan or the room could be. And all of those things are this relationship which create air management, airflow.
Yeah.
And if we introduce that back into this modern hospital in Rwanda, could we actually reduce infection rates and create not only a comfortable space, a beautiful space on this hilltop that looks at this incredible view?
I will say I checked out your portfolio. I was trying to dig up at least one stinker. Really nice, dude. I was like, damn. It was the what was it that not Masso, Amma.
Amma, yeah.
Amma,
Yeah.
yeah. Stuff looked crazy, man.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Really, for real. I was like, there's got to be one in here. You're like, what the hell is that? I was like, damn, this shit is awesome.
We don't put the stinkers on the website.
So, what was the tech level in the hospital in Rwanda? You're talking like you had just open windows where there's a breeze just coming through, right?
Pretty low tech, you know,
Yeah.
but there's simple metrics: size of windows, size of room, and then this is key: high ceilings, what we call the upper room,
Yeah.
where the airflow's up. And then there's this great Kentucky company outside Louisville called Big Ass Fans. You hear this group?
It's awesome. Sounds enough. That sounds awesome.
And we found them, and they create these huge ceiling fans. So I wrote to Big Ass Fans. I said, would you guys ever think about donating, helping us put these big ceiling fans in these open wards? And they were like, on board.
That's awesome.
So we had this big ass fans.
Shout out to big ass fans.
Shout out to big ass fans. And it's hilarious too, because you had all these T-shirts, all these dudes, construction workers wearing big ass fan T-shirts, like no idea what this meant. It's hilarious.
That's really funny.
So we had this big airflow, kind of goes slow, but because they're big, they get a lot of airflow.
We have one in the Austin airport. That's just like
totally
a massive metal fan.
I might be a big ass fan. Actually.
That might be a big ass fan.
Yeah. I'll have to look when I'm walking through there, because it gets air up, a lot of air up, but it doesn't. You don't have the speed that creates a lot of. Let's say it cools you down, actually. So it gets the room up, it gets the air up into the upper room, and then up there we had UV GI lights, ultraviolet germicidal radiation lights, and it cleans the air up there. Yeah. And then it moves out. So just those simple strategies actually created enough air changes per hour that we needed without having to bring in big mechanical systems.
That's awesome.
And it kind of changed the way I think about buildings. I started to say, buildings have to breathe. Yeah. They allow us to breathe. They're actually working with us, actually. So our ability to breathe clean air is predicated on the spaces we're in, actually. And because we spend most of our lives in these spaces. And that's a critical measure of our health and our comfort and our ability to live. Right? Yeah. And why is it that the buildings are not? Why aren't we thinking about buildings as this, like a series of lungs or a filter of the outside to the inside, more than just the spaces that we're in and we're forced to be in?
Keep it cold and keep it cool and all that stuff.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
That is pretty, I really do. I think it goes back to just like, medieval peasant mentality where it's like, all right, we're going to build, if we build stuff for the general population, it's just, let's just build it, be happy you have it. It's not going to help you in any way. It's not going to be good for you, but just shut up and just deal with it. Because I think that's why, like, hospitals really do suck so bad.
There's some of that truth, yeah. It's like the bare minimum.
Well, it's almost just unthinkable to be like, let's make this nice, because everyone's like, shut up. Yeah. Be glad you have anything at all.
Yeah.
We
that's
could.
True. And there's that inequality of space, that kind of indignity of the environments that we live in, that we don't deserve. Yeah. Spaces that not just treat us correctly or treat us well, but also inspire us or give us a sense of awe. I mean, I think, if you go back to the kind of medieval period, you have a great distinction, right? You have maybe terrible environments that you live in homes, so your hovels or something like that.
Yeah, they used to like butcher animals and throw them right outside.
There you go. You have terrible spaces that are not cleanly and maybe not inspiring. And then you go to the cathedral. Yeah. And the cathedral is like one of the most awe-inspiring things you've ever seen. Yeah. And so they were using architecture and its greatest ability to like inspire awe, to remind us that like, there's these greater powers that are above us that you should be inspired by and that give you kind of purpose. So in a way, every day the public is going in between the conditions of the ordinary and the conditions of the inspiring at some moments in their life. Like I'm sure each of us has an architectural memory that they could tell a story about. It's one of the reasons I wrote this book. It's like, what is that moment where you said, oh, that was a badass experience I had? Or
you know what it was for me?
What was it?
You probably actually know this. The Egg in Albany.
Oh yeah, the Egg.
I performed in the Egg, and I'll be honest, that was awesome.
Yeah, what was it about the Egg?
It's just fucking cool. I was in an Egg. I don't know. I was in like a completely circular building. Dude, Josh, please pull up a picture of the Egg in Albany. It was Also, are you familiar with Albany? Yeah. Because then they have those like government buildings. It looks like evil. Yeah. They have those like it's like brutalist, I guess. Yes. They have those like very like you like come over whatever highway whatever road that is, and you see this like egg-shaped building looming in the distance. That thing, that big concrete satellite dish looking thing. But then there's those buildings to the left corner.
Yeah, it almost looks like
they at nighttime they stick up, and it looks like the evil empire out of Star Wars. Honestly too, I don't think anyone. Well, people probably know, but they're like federal buildings. Yeah, that I couldn't really get an answer from people like what's actually in them. They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like state office buildings. And,
and the clearance you need like. Not military clearance. When you pull in, it's like very, very restrictive. Like who can go in there? You need all these credentials. So yeah, that was the picture right there, Josh.
Memorable, right?
Yeah, that one stuck with me. I just remember pulling up and being like, why did they do this? It looks terrible. The Egg was cool. The buildings behind it were like scary, like literally scary looking.
Yeah, and they're so different than the structures around them, which are kind of these historic 19th century buildings. Yeah, yeah. That period of time in the 60s. With urban renewal dollars was a big moment of like big heroic visionary and kind of sometimes like really miss the mark architecture.
Yeah. Well, so are you, Josh, you pull up the Guild House in Philadelphia? Are you familiar with the Guild House?
Show me the Guild House. Yeah.
Guild
House. So I know the Guild House. Yes, of course. The ugliest architecture.
It's the ugliest building. And this is what I didn't realize that was designed purposely. Someone made this place. I said pass it every day. The Guild House, it's actually kind of irritated me.
Yeah.
That place, it's on, I don't know, like 8th and Spring Garden somewhere. But that was designed by an architect, which I get the idea was like, let's not like clash with the existing neighborhood. Let's give it something that like we kind of fit in.
Yeah.
But that was for basically low income senior citizens. Yeah. And he was like, let's just like purposely make this thing look almost like kind of like run down. And then he had a big satellite dish on the top of it. They had to remove.
Yeah.
Because that was like an insider joke. Like these guys are just sitting there for the rest of their life watching TV all day in this shitty building. And then they took the satellite dish off.
Yeah,
that was also in the 60s as well.
As Robert Venturi.
Yeah, what the hell? What was up
Robert
with that
Venturi and Denise Scott Brown, Philadelphia architects. Real. I actually write about them a little bit in the book. You know, they really championed this what became postmodernism and using kind of signs and symbols in architecture to signal a kind of language so that you read. He actually defended the Guild House as ugly architecture. You know, that you would read the ugly and it could be ordinary and okay.
I mean, this guy's got to knock it off.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I mean,
just give him nice rooms and some ceiling. Like these are low income guys in Philadelphia trying to, you know, finish their years out. And
it's a very kind of populist thing, but it's also, you know, it's sort of there's so many Venturi Scott Brown structures that really miss the mark and are kind of hideous architecture, and they're kind of obsessed with the ordinary in a way. Like they were obsessed with Las Vegas. They went to Las Vegas and created an entire theory around the buildings on the Strip.
Yeah.
They were just boxes with big signs.
Okay.
You know, and they were saying, you know, there's something about this that we should think about as like a vernacular American architecture where we care about the sign, but we don't care about what's behind the sign. I don't fully agree with that.
I don't even know what they're talking about. I feel like is that the old Strip in Vegas?
The old Strip, yeah.
It's not like the Flamingo. They have like pink, but I don't even understand that. It looks insane. When you go to Vegas, it does not look ordinary whatsoever.
No, now they're emblematic,
crazy.
emblematic of like a little mini Venice or a little mini, you know, New York City or whatever.
Was the old Strip that plain? What year was this?
This was the 60s.
Mid-60s. It was just a big neon sign. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what the hell? Okay. So
and I
still don't get what he's talking about.
I think what they were saying
signs
is like,
are cool.
Yeah, that, you know, we're attracted to the symbol and the sign and the eat here and come in here. But once you get inside, it can be like every other building.
Oh, okay.
And
that's why
we should focus on the language, if you want to use it, or the symbol that wraps the building and not care so much about the experience inside. And of course, like flies in the face of a lot of other architectural theorists who would say like the things should be interrelated.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting and provocative theory, which definitely changed the way that architects started to focus on what it looks like from the outside.
I mean, here's the thing, and I've never studied architecture, but if I had a guess, if I was going, all right, what would if I'm like a 75-year-old dude who's lived in Philly my whole life and now I'm in a low income housing, just give the guy like a slightly higher ceiling. They're gonna go, fuck, this is high ceilings. This is nice.
Totally.
Hitting them with the high concepts, and especially being like it's shitty on purpose.
On purpose.
Come on, man. When I read that, I was like, what the fuck?
It's very patronizing.
It is. It's very shitty. It's very mean to be like, these guys, give them something shitty. We'll put a big satellite dish on the top.
Yeah, I also felt like they never, you know, I critique it a little bit in the book, which is to say like, you know, there's also a reason why you have these big signs in Vegas at the time. It's because you're trying to capture the most capital. You're trying to get the people to buy what they have. You want the louder and louder sign. So there's an economic driver behind that investment that has nothing to do with the experience one has and the desire one has to like be in a space for a long period of time.
Casinos are freaked out because it's like they're purposely designed to be disorienting.
Completely.
And kind of just leave you just like, don't leave. You literally can't figure out how to get out of there.
They're labyrinthine.
Yeah, no clocks.
Pumping in air so you stay awake. Yeah.
Oh, do they do that?
Totally.
Oh God, it's terrible. Terrible. Yeah. Well, okay, so so in architect school, this is one of my prepared questions. At what point in architect school do they teach you how to effectively blame everything on the contractors?
It's lesson number one. Yeah.
It is nice. It's a nice thing to be able to do.
Well, trust me, when you work with the contractors, they're blaming everything on the architect.
I know. It's literally vice versa.
It's like this. It is actually constructed as this completely adverse relationship from the beginning.
Yeah.
You have the big ideas, and they're getting everything done.
Well, they're looking at they're looking at the plans, going, "This is bullshit. We made some changes because you can't even do this." They don't know what it's like, and I've seen it a million times.
Yeah, that's what was so interesting about working in Rwanda, because we didn't have an architect per se. I was working with the team, but they had a builder. This guy Bruce Nizet, and he had these shops where he was making every piece of furniture, making window details, they were making coffins for the hospital. I mean, making everything.
Damn.
Had metal shop and wood shop, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, you're actually working interrelated with the builder. We're going to build it together. We're going to design it together. We're going to test it together.
Yeah.
And so there was that relationship, that adverse relationship. I didn't learn through that.
Right.
I learned how to like work directly in relationship with those who were going to make it, because we could make it right on site, which is sort of something you don't have access to here, where everything is imported.
Yeah.
And that was a really unique experience. Yeah.
That is kind of cool.
But there is this moment where you say, okay, architects have this position on high, and we create the great ideas, and then everyone else has to surrender to that. And I think that kind of, again, patronizing position is completely, it recreates the idea that only some get access to architecture and architects, and that we all have to live and suffer through these terrible spaces in our lives, instead of trying to figure out how to solve and fix the things that we
I was reading, I've been reading this guy's, trying to read his book. It's really hard to read, but he, it's called After Virtue. It's a real dense philosophical book by Alistair McIntyre, and he was talking about part of his thing was like, we need to go back to like engaging in practices for the sake of the practice rather than the external reward, which is like a nice thing to think about. And but then he was like talking about like, okay, he had to define what a practice was. So he's like, architecture is a practice, and like, what about bricklaying? He's like, not a practice. He's like, that's just part of art. That's just a part of architecture. It was kind of a snobby take. He was like, there's nothing to be had internally by being a good bricklayer. You're just a subset of the practice of architecture.
Oh yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, so he caught a lot of flack for it. Honestly, I think kind of a snobby take.
Yeah, it is. I think one of the things I learned is people ask, oh, how do you define what a more beautiful building is versus another? And I say, if you can tell a story about the building, if you can communicate like why it is the way it is, and often that can be through how it's made. So the craft of making the building. I've worked with these stonemasons who, we worked together on making this really beautiful stone wall out of this volcanic rock.
Very nice.
In the ground. And it's like, oh, this is about, they made every single edge of every single rock. It was handcrafted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can see the thousands of hours and all the hand stone cutting that was going on inside. And you can see this incredible thing they created, which will stand the test of time. And in that is the story for generations. I made that stone wall. Yeah. Like my great-great-grandfather was a stonemason from Ireland, came up to the Hudson Valley. That's why we were there. He came to build these estates that were made out of these like river stones. He had this Irish stone, masonry
usually
experience.
Breathable stone too.
There you go, breathable stone. Yeah.
Very breathable stones. Yeah, I that's the thing. It is a funny thing to say, because I think stonemasonry is almost like it is kind of an art. You have to like take the stone, know how to actually cut them and where to place them and how to they're not like all the same color. It's not like it's made in a store.
I mean, you see this in especially in Japan, where there's such a reverence for the tradition of craft, of woodworking and masonry and everything, and we've lost a lot of that. But I think reverting to that, having that pride in what's made, back to my own experience working on my own home, like having to sand and work on every piece of wood, and you get really intimate with the material and the making of a room or a floor, and it reminds you that lots of hands have touched this thing over time. Yeah. Lots of people have worked on this to keep it alive. And there's a sort of reverence to being part of that long relay race of people creating spaces that protect us.
That is nice, man. Especially I used to paint houses, and just changing the color of a room would make me so happy when I would finally finish the last coat and look at it and be like, it was such a joy. I'd be like, it was just a nice feeling.
Yeah, having that kind of finished thing, you can imagine it taking on new life.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. That being said, as an architect, you ever find yourself when meeting a contractor for the first time genuinely wondering, like, what hellhole did this illiterate freak crawl out of? You don't have to answer that. This is a funny question. So
I mean, I actually have. I mean, I will say I have a lot of reverence for people who make things, you know, because it's not.
no,
easy.
they are.
It's not easy.
It's one of I would say because a lot of my family did construction growing up, and it's like it's one of the, I swear to God, it's one of the hardest. I think it's one of the most fun jobs because you're in different places all the time. Like I really love that part of it, but then it's like it's hard work. It like kind of destroys your body over time, depending on what you're doing. And then you have to go collect, you have to go chase your money down. So like you're actually working, and then there's a whole other part of the job where you have to go like, be like, hey, pay me for that thing I did. And people are like,
yeah, you're at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what's fascinating about being a builder or contractor is you can kind of see the whole system. You take on all this risk. You're trying to budget a future thing that may go over budget, you know, you're assembling all sorts of teams of labor.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to bring in folks, people you trust, people you don't know, and get this thing done on you're future proofing. I hope it'll take this long. I hope the weather will, allow me to do it.
You're also managing like honestly, if you like when I would do construction, not all, but a sizable portion of the workforce would be like ex-convicts.
Sure.
Not yet convict. You know, you're dealing with a fucking pretty
soon to be convict.
You're organizing a pretty rough version, rough squad usually, and it's like it's definitely a different beast altogether.
It's good work, hard work.
It is.
Yeah, I worked mostly in food service, but every
same
weekend,
thing. It's the same exact thing.
Every weekend, grinding out like the amount of peppers I cut and onions I cut. Prepping for this at this place I worked all through high school. It's like. I get it. Like, but you, at the end of the day, you crack a beer, you look at what you did, you see the next day, and you're really proud of it. And that kind of is a really powerful thing. And when the architect is, I think, removed from that process and on a perch, build this vision, I think it's a complete disconnect into like the world around us and why it matters. It's the people that make it that actually matter. Yeah,
no, I agree. It is, So you gave the TED Talk. Your TED Talk was like, it was a huge TED Talk. Is that?
Oh,
it was a while ago.
It was a while ago. We got
You did well.
We did well.
But that you also gave a TED Talk in the golden age of TED Talks.
That was a good time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I used to remember, like, if someone gave a TED Talk, like, what was that, like 13 years ago maybe you did, or 12?
I did it, like in 15. So like
that was
11 years ago.
That was the golden age. Was that before TEDx? Because they watered down the sauce a little bit.
I think it was like simultaneous, but it wasn't. TEDx was starting to happen then.
TEDx was starting.
Don't quote me totally, but it was like there was some TEDx happening like around then. But you still did a 13-minute talk, where I think they've now have like a 6-minute talk or something.
Okay. Like that. Well, what was it like giving a TED Talk? I don't know anyone who's given one, so I'm always
really?
Curious what that experience is like.
I mean, I always described it as like high school theater. It was like when I did plays in high school, and you had to like remember all the words. And I was like, it was closest thing to theater.
So you had a little training, so you were able to do.
Yeah, I put the presentation together. I'm working with this coach, Chi Perlman. She's amazing. And working through the story. And she would always, architecture's, we always talk about buildings, yada, 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 like we just talked about the Guildhall. And like, you get a little highfalutin, but she was always bringing it back down to narrative. It was really meaningful for me to say, okay, people are going to respond to the story of actually your dad got sick and this building changed him, or like other people. That's what people care about.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen architects really describe buildings in a narrative way that would like reach people. And so working on it with her and then memorizing it, and then like, I was like doing jogs and like saying it out loud and all this stuff like that, like freaking people out around me. I remember I was like in the treadmill in the basement of the hotel, and like this crazy moment, like in front of me is, because Ted attracted all these people, right? So in front of me is Al Gore on the treadmill running, right? And next to me is Chelsea Clinton on the treadmill running. I don't know if they really want to see each other, but there was a big mirror where you could sort of all see each other, and I'm like running between Chelsea Clinton and Al Gore, speaking the TED Talk out loud, freaking everybody out.
And what did Gore and Clinton, did they even look at you, or they just?
Nope, and they didn't look at each other either, because I think it was, they had a little history there. that's that's that weird ecosystem.
Who was putting in harder work on the treadmill?
Good
Was
question. I don't know.
Clinton or Gore?
I think it was me. I was doing the hardest
Honestly,
work.
yeah, you're fucking crushing
pushing it.
I would have definitely pace matched Clinton and
That's
Gore
a
if
good
I was
point.
between them.
You're like 7, 8.
Incline. Oh yeah, for sure. You know me. 30 seconds back down to 4.
Yeah. So I
So-
mean, that was hard. It was interesting, but it was. I would say, after it was finished, I got a lot of really interesting, great feedback, and people wrote to me these cold emails that were like, I want to tell you the story of my house that I worked on with my dad, or I want to
Yeah.
tell you the story of the school I went to that was like really weird, and why was it that way? And I started getting all these like everyday reflections on the architecture and the buildings that mattered to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was from that TED Talk experience and the response that it got from being about stories
Right.
that I was like, I have to write a book that actually gets people to tell their stories. And that's why I wrote this book, which was to say, let me tell you about architecture in our world, not the architecture you should go to, not the 10 buildings you should go to in your lifetime, in your
Yeah.
bucket list. It's not what this book is. This book is like, why do hospitals matter? Why do houses matter? Why do prisons matter?
Yeah.
Why does the workplace matter? Like, how do we build a language so we understand and evaluate the spaces that we're foisted into so that we can start reflecting back? And you send me those. I want to hear those stories. I want to hear from your readers, your listeners, like, hey, man, I had this crazy experience in this building. It changed my life. Or I had this terrible experience. It changed my life. And that's where, as an architect, you gain the most knowledge, actually.
Yeah. I was just talking to my friend before I came here about cubicles and how like I think they're a thing in the past now. I didn't realize that. It's more now like the open floor concept.
Yeah.
But the cubicles is like a pretty dastardly design.
I write about the cubicle in the book.
Do you really?
Yeah, there's a book. There's a chapter on the workplace I start with the factory,
Yeah.
but then there was this guy at this furniture company named Herman Miller, which is a famous furniture company in Michigan. This guy named Probst, and he designed the modern office cubicle.
Did he really?
Yeah, and it was like this vision of like creating all these systems that could be plug and played and grow and evolve in the modern workplace. It's kind of a visionary system idea. And later in his life, he complained. He said, "Look, my big idea of the cubicle has been destroyed."
What was his original idea? It
It was that you could create like a good enough workplace that could adapt and change and evolve with the needs of the company, and there's some beauty into that. There's a beauty into creating this adaptable system that's better than the average.
Yeah.
But what happened is, of course, it created this kind of the office space scenario, the sort of banal, the horrible, the sitting in a basement, the living in a cubicle kind of environment. And so you have both maybe the aspiration of it and also the use of it.
Well, that was Adam Smith had a quote about factories in general. He's like, dude, if we can give everyone just one mindless task all day, every day, they'll fly off into these like heightened flights of fancy and they'll come up with like the next great thing. And it was just like, no, they kind of just stare at the wall.
Stare at the wall.
That is funny when, I mean, it's a cool idea and concept, but it's like, it's not the case.
Yeah, its use and when it was deployed, created a lot of terrible conditions that people then fought against.
Yeah.
But then the open work plan is also not great either. People get into their headphones, into their Zoom calls, and you're like,
you almost want the walls. I thought about that too. It's like I might want to retreat to the walls of the cubicle. If you put me at a table with like 4 people. And,
there's like an imperfect. You're trying to figure out how to work well together, and also have heads down work, and that we haven't fully figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, the full Zoom office work is not a great environment. We have no socialization.
Yeah.
We have no way to be together in person.
Yeah, well, I've talked to people who do kind of like more office stuff, and there's been a lot of people after COVID. They're like, I can't wait to go back to the office.
Totally.
Like, I actually want to go back. It sounds cool to be like, nice, I can chill in my house in sweatpants, but then you do that every day, and like, I think there is like the commute there's a soul crushing aspect to the commute, but then there's also like shutting your laptop, and now you're just in your house, and you're like, all right,
yeah,
just
totally.
me again.
Just me. Still here.
Yeah, it's just me.
Yeah, still here. I'm gonna do. My wife and I call them freedom rides. We're like, I'm gonna go to the grocery store and do a freedom ride.
Yeah, just drive.
Get outside the house. Go buy some strawberries.
With LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn, with TED, the TED Talk. When you did that, did you take like beta blockers, or did you just kind of raw dog it?
I just did it. Yeah.
Raw dogged it. Yeah. I get a lot of people are talking to me about beta blockers. Like, you got to take them. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, I've never taken that, but I'm interested. Tell me why. Tell me why.
They say like it's like the public speaking kind of like it's like the cure all.
Oh, is that right?
They say it doesn't allow your heart rate to rise basically. So like you like they say you like can't actually experience the physical symptoms of anxiety. I've never tried it.
I should have taken a bunch today.
Yeah, true. Sure, yeah, 3 coffees might not be
like 3 coffees. Yeah, no, I didn't do anything like that, but I did. I did practice a lot, like theater. So I felt ready, but.
You're ready to go.
I'll tell you, man. There was this. There was one dude who they called. You get step on the red circle. This one guy went out there, had a talk to give, and he just went blank. He just went blank, and everyone in the crowd was just like, "Is this an act?" And then he sat down. Everyone stood up and clapped, and they stood up. He tried to do it again. Blank. It was such a bomb.
Fuck.
Yes, it was hard to watch.
That is tough.
Yeah.
I do like the guys who go like, they banned my TED Talk. Here's my banned. I kind of like the renegade TED Talkers. Like they banned my shit. So when you gave the TED Talk, did you get like flooded with like, I guess like DMs and stuff? Like, what I'm trying to ask is like, did the babes respond to the TED Talk?
I mean, I got a lot of good response. I mean, it was mostly like people my mom's age, who were like,
okay, here we go.
Who were like, I've got this, my son needs a job, or like, I've got this house, like we're working on my garage, that kind of thing.
Nothing intriguing.
Yeah.
So do you, jumping from TED Talks, do you like LinkedIn? I kind of said it too early, but do you like LinkedIn? Like, what are your thoughts on LinkedIn?
I hadn't used a lot of social media, to be honest with you, for like years. But when I kind of went back on it recently as I was doing some new work, and obviously it's a good way to connect, but also I'm trying to like, keep my eyes off the phone, man.
Get off of there,
Get off it, like not be too consumed by it. I was watching, like all of us, like tracking things and seeing if people respond and the like button. And
well, LinkedIn's weird because you get like you get endorsements. So you say like, these are my skills, and then your friends or whoever, you're like, yeah, he's actually great at strategic planning.
Yeah, I haven't done any of that stuff because a lot of the work that I'm getting is from relationships. People I meet are like, I have this crazy idea, I want to build this weird thing. Like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And so instead of applying for jobs or answering RFPs, I'm talking to folks to be like, how do I do this crazy, impossible project, and try to work with them and figure that out,
Yeah, I had my LinkedIn profile during, I guess I had completely given up on like a standard career path, so I had a shirtless pic on LinkedIn.
Nice.
It's kind of nice.
A lot of good responses.
Yeah, and I had written my own skill sets in, and they were like kind of graphic sexual acts that I was trying to get people to endorse. I think they might control for that now. Yeah, my LinkedIn was crazy.
Maybe
Josh,
that should be my next. Should I do that?
Bro, go shirtless.
Yeah,
That's the power. That's for real. Shirtless LinkedIn's a power move.
Okay.
Josh, can you? I have a clip I want to show you. This is an architectural question. Can you pull that up? I saw this guy on it. He was talking about something specifically he did with his house. I kind of want to see your thoughts on this as an architect.
You bet.
Let me see here.
Is he shirtless?
Also, while Josh gets that, I noticed on one of the I guess organizations you're connected to, there's a thing called the Ellen DeGeneres Campus of Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund.
It's a good name. It really rolls off the tongue.
What is that? That sounds completely unhinged. What is the Ellen DeGeneres Campus of Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund?
Yeah, so this was
Is that a real thing?
It's basically, I worked on this.
You worked on the Ellen DeGeneres Diane
Fossey Gorilla Fund Center of Care and in Trouble. Yeah, no, it's a center for the study and care of gorilla scientists in northern Rwanda.
Okay.
Like basically like where the remaining mountain gorillas live are in this incredible part of the country, and people go there from all over the world to see the mountain gorillas, and you trek up and you know, here we go. You go with these gorillas, you track them. It's an incredible experience. And so Diane Fossey, which I don't know if you ever saw Gorillas in the Mist when you were growing up.
Oh, really?
Did you ever see the movie?
I didn't see it, but I know of it.
So that's a movie about Diane Fossey. Diane Fossey in the 60s moved to Rwanda. What was, then was also Rwanda, was still Rwanda.
Yeah.
And studied the gorillas and brought a lot of attention to them. Mm-hmm. And so and she was killed up there by poachers.
Dang.
And so this foundation that was set up in her honor continued for 50 years. And then they reached out to my team to see if we could help build a new campus for them.
That's pretty cool.
And I started working on it with them, and the first donor came in,
Ellen
DeGeneres, who cares about animals and was like, I'll give the, lead gift. Actually, her wife, Portia, gave the lead gift in her honor before Ellen knew. So it was sort of this thing, but, the naming rights came with the project.
That's pretty cool.
So, but
what was this prior to her getting kind of skewered by the media for being nasty to her staff?
It was,
that was one of the weaker cancellations I saw. She was like, she's mean.
Mean, yeah.
I've been on Ellen's
staff.
I've been on Ellen's side the whole time.
Yeah. I mean,
she runs a tight ship.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And
she donated to the Gorilla Fund, dude. People were on her ass.
It was right at that same time.
Was it really?
Yeah. This was sort of her exit plan. She was sort of leaving the show.
Yeah.
She was putting some into philanthropy. She was, funding animal philanthropy, and
also power move. If I have a staff of crybabies, I'm like, I'm gonna give $40 million to the gorillas, dude. Shut up. I don't even care about you guys. Right. Doing the Gorilla Fund.
It was definitely an attempted cancellation. Yeah, but she survived it, I think. And
I think she's fine.
She's doing all right.
I thought it was weak. I thought I don't know. I thought that was such a reach to be like, well, she's mean. It's like, okay, dude, you're
getting into meanness and bullying, like boss.
We're all
behavior.
none of us stand a chance here.
You're like, you've never been mean before.
Bossy pants.
Yeah.
Can you? This is the architectural question I had. I actually had me thinking.
Oh yeah.
Starts to expand. It does. And at one point, you had a trap house. You gutted the whole house and put 15 stoves in the house.
Absolutely. My vision was huge.
I would love to see pictures of this, by the way.
Yeah. My vision was huge.
Okay. 15 stoves, 4 pots each, 6 cookers. 11 people cooking at once. It was a whole.
All right,
It's a whole operation.
It was a whole operation.
Definitely an operation. Now, I know you're not an engineer,
That
but
sounds like a fire hazard.
is that even feasible? Oh, is that even possible to have? Because I'm trying to figure out if he's capping. Is that possible to have? What did he say? 6 stoves?
15 stoves.
15 stoves. Excuse me. Is it possible to even do that in terms of like pulling I would guess he was in St. Pete's, Florida, in let's say either a row home or a standalone house.
Is that what he was in?
I think so. I mean, if he was saying he was in an impoverished neighborhood in St. Pete's, Florida, I don't think you could even put 16 stoves.
Man,
I'm not trying to knock the man's trap, but it's like,
I don't know.
is that possible?
I mean, I guess
if you had to design a trap, how would you go about putting the 16 stoves with 11 cookers?
I do 8. First of all, I'll do 18 stoves.
You do 18.
Yeah.
So you think it's feasible for him?
I mean, I guess
in a standard house.
If you have a vision, if you have a
big,
huge vision, that's what I always say. You can find a way.
Because people are trying to say he's capping.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. It sounds kind of like cap, but I figured I'd ask an expert.
I'm glad you asked me. Yeah.
Do you think he could act genuinely? Do you think he could have put 16
I just am worried about the fire hazard. But,
for sure.
If does he have 16 hoods? What's the deal? Does he have?
Doubtful.
What's his airflow strategy?
Should be good.
There?
They're cooking crack. I don't know if you put the context. They're cooking crack, so the airflow should be good.
It should be very nice.
I didn't know. I always love to see a turned up white boy, but I didn't know. I was like, this guy might be full of shit.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me know.
Well, hey, so the book's great. Before you go, we always have our premium subscribers. They write in a question. Would you mind reading it, and then we could discuss the question?
Sure, totally.
It's just random.
Is this my own trap? You read the? Okay.
No, we're talking about the trap. It's not a trap. It's just they send us questions. The producers select. You grab literally at random.
This is the premium subscriber question. I'm a 47-year-old married cishet male. My wife is 52, and for the better half of her life was a strict lesbian. Gold star. Good question. We met around the time she was going through menopause. We were working together at Price Warehouse Cooper, one of the big 4 accounting firms. We started on the same team as professional equals. Mind you, we've been working together for 5 years, and she first struck me as being incredibly masked, which is fine for me. I have great respect for masked ladies, especially how they grind in their workplace, but can still have a good time. That's a nice reflection.
It is.
Yeah.
These guys, I think that was actually Joe from Minneapolis. I forgot to put that in there.
I've seen it time and time again. But a few years into our professional acquaintance, she underwent something of a transformation from mask to mature femme. Something I learned later was due to a shift in her hormonal profile due to menopause, which I, of course, mentioned earlier. It was around this time that I started developing feelings for her, desiring to be more than just professional teammates, and so I asked her to coffee. One thing led to another, and now we're married. My second, her third, but obviously first with a man. I'm the only man she's ever been with, and she's always filled the role of the more masculine-leaning partner out of all her lesbian relationships. This is something we've done. This is good. I get the architectural substance in this.
Oh, it's random. It's random.
It's random.
They don't know who the guest is going to be.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You want me to finish this?
Please. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This is something we've dealt with in couples counseling for almost a year, getting something of a resolution. Basically, I had to step up and be more assertive, which I learned how to do after taking several online courses. I'm excited about the internet search that's going to happen after this. Yeah, so long story short, things are going really well until just the other night we were arguing about which movie to watch when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my wife struck me a stiff backhand across the side of my face. I just stood in shock, covering my cheek that was warm from the slap. I cried, and then she cried. That's very nice. We hugged as she apologized profusely, telling me how domestic violence is statistically higher in the lesbian scene, highest actually out of all other pairing types. Oh, interesting. Wonder where the data's from. I guess my question is, do I forgive her and move on, or is this kind of an assault of unforgivable?
That's the question.
That's a good question. What do you think of that?
I think it's unforgivable, man. I would meet her where she is, honestly, but I don't know.
I'm curious what kind of space they were in. Were they on the couch? Was the home toxic? Was it a toxic home?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. They're in counseling, so
yeah.
It seems like they had help, but
it's a good question. I'll have to think about it.
I mean, they're up there in terms of professionals. They're 50, 40 something.
Well, was his third, her fourth? Is that what it was? Her fourth.
The marriage? I don't know.
So they've
what
been
did it
there
say?
before.
Second and third,
yeah.
So that I actually have heard that it is statistically higher in the lesbian community. Domestic violence is the highest in the lesbian community.
Is that right?
That's what I've heard.
That I don't know.
I don't know either, but I've heard that. we can verify that.
Thanks for letting me read that. I'm back to the theater of the TED Talk, given a script.
True. So no advice for him?
I mean, I think, he should follow his heart as he has.
I say forgive, honestly.
I
say
we
forgive.
all get into difficult positions.
True. I say forgive.
It's actually bisexual women is what AI says.
Have the highest.
Mm-hmm.
AI knows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sorry to end on a sour note. I just have to do. They're the premium subscribers. They get to submit questions.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm happy to give them advice. Hopefully they're listening. Maybe what they should do. They should think about the kind of setting of their house.
True.
Maybe they need a new couch or something. Maybe they need 15 stoves or something like that.
For the set of the trap house. Well, hey, thank you so much. That was a blast.
Hey, thank you.
And one more time, the book, Our World in 10 Buildings.
Yeah, the book's Our World in 10 Buildings.
Beautiful.
It's how architecture defines who we are and how we live. And I hope you pick it up. It's about everyday spaces. It's not about the 10 buildings you want to visit. It's about how the spaces around you might improve our lives a little bit better, a little bit more. And I hope you like it. And thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you.
It was a great
Appreciate
talk.
you. Watch new episodes of Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast on Spotify.
Do it.